Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics. First, the highlights. President Bola Tinubu restates commitment and support for a robust public-private sector partnership to grow the economy. More state governments distribute palliatives to cushion impact of fuel subsidy removal. And the People's Democratic Party threatens to suspend FCT Minister Nyesom Wike over what they call anti-party engagements.
This is Channels Television's breaking news.
Well, welcome to the program. I'm Millicent Walker in Lagos. We begin with our breaking story. The Nigeria Labour Congress NLC has declared a two-day warning strike beginning from Tuesday, September the 5th, 2023. And this is to protest against the federal government for failing to address the challenges caused by the removal of fuel subsidy. The president of the NLC, Mr. Joe Ajero, made the declaration at the ongoing conference at the Labour House, Abuja, where he's briefing journalists about the resolutions taken by the NLC National Executive Committee meeting on Thursday. The NLC is accusing the government of abandoning the negotiations and also failing to implement some of the resolutions from previous meetings with the government. The NLC and TUC had last month protested to the National Assembly over the same issues. We'll bring you more details as soon as we get them. The president has restated his commitment and support for a robust public-private sector partnership to grow the economy, saying that his administration's reforms are anchored on a strong adherence to accountability and transparency. President Tinubu said this during a meeting with the board and management of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group at the presidential villa.
Members of the board and management of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group at the presidential villa for a courtesy call on President Bola Tinubu. Receiving them with the president are the vice president, the minister of finance, and the minister of budget and economic planning, amongst other top government officials.
Your inauguration speech spoke to
the NESG chairman applauded the economic decisions taken so far by the president, such as the fuel subsidy removal and the foreign exchange rate harmonization. He affirmed the group's readiness to support the federal government's economic drive.
More importantly, that also helped to drive investments, be it domestic investment and, of course, international investments. A critical part of that will be tackling the issue of insecurity and, of course, tackling and it's open to improve our crude oil production.
President Tinubu, in his remarks, made clear the resolve of his administration to work with the private sector.
We believe in courage of more levels. And it can only be driven by a serious collaboration with the private sector and the public sector. Strong adherence to accountability and transparency in every way possible.
He also acknowledged the difficult situation the country is passing through and emphasized that firm steps must be taken to build a better future for the country.
The world is dynamic, the environment is dynamic as well. We are confronted with climate change and many other challenges. But here, somewhere, in the face of all this storm, in the eye of the storm, there is a quiet and peaceful corner for those who can search patiently and be determined find ours.
The president assured the group that all will be done to fully implement the 8 priority reform areas under the Renewed Hope agenda within the next 4 years for the benefit of the country. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning has announced plans to update the national protection policy to accommodate emerging issues currently affecting Nigerians. The permanent secretary in the ministry, while inaugurating the committee, adds that the policy will focus on alleviating poverty in Nigeria.
In the period 2017 to 2020, we had the National Social Protection Policy, but this policy now elapsed in December of 2020, and this makes it necessary to do a new policy and to update that previous one to accommodate some emerging issues such as the COVID-19 pandemic, the emergence of new ministries, agencies, and other issues. Furthermore, the implementation plan and the robust monitoring and evaluation framework for this new social protection policy has already been developed. And to institutionalize the National Social Protection Policy, a draft bill will soon be subjected to validation by all the relevant stakeholders before finalizing it for further action. It's important for us to note that the National Social Protection Policy is structured along 4 key pillars, which are 1, social assistance, 2, social care, 3, social insurance, and 4, labor market interventions.
And more governors are implementing the palliative distribution and other policies to cushion the impact of petrol subsidy removal. This time, the government of Yobe State commenced distribution of food palliatives to 6,800 physically challenged and vulnerable persons in Potiskum, the most populated local government area in the state. The executive secretary of the State Emergency Management Agency, Mohammed Goje, who flagged off the exercise on behalf of the governor, reveals that the exercise is going to be a continuous one.
Palliative distribution started since the pronouncement of subsidy removal and as directed by the governor, and this is an ongoing state-driven palliative. But of course, both the state and the federal government is channeled towards alleviating the suffering of people as a result of the subsidy removal. So the palliative distribution will continue. We have strong communication from the federal government, and already we have started receiving consignment from the federal government, and we'll still reach out to more communities with either the state or the federal government palliatives as directed by His Excellency the Executive Governor.
And to the South-South region, where the River State Governor has inaugurated a committee to distribute palliatives to the people of the state. Governor Fubara, during the inauguration at the Government House, Port Harcourt, said the decision became necessary because the country is at a crossroad following the removal of fuel subsidy. He says although his administration has been quietly providing safety nets for the people, the committee will be charged with the responsibility of distributing 16,800 bags of rice that were given by the Nigeria Governors Forum. The governor also acknowledged receiving the sum of 2 billion naira, but says the state government will decide on how to utilize the funds.
The country is in a crossroad because of one economic decision that we took, which is the removal of subsidy. States, the federal government, and also well-meaning individuals are providing succors for such situation. In that order, the Nigerian Governors Forum, also in their own bid to contribute to help to alleviate this situation, decided to distribute to all the states about 6,800 bags of rice. And these bags of rice is not about party, it's about the state. So we also thought it wise that it will also be proper to bring in all the local government chairmen, since you represent your LGAs.
And just yesterday, the Akwa Ibom State Governor, Umo Eno, released 1 billion naira to augment the federal government palliatives. The governor announced the release as the first tranche for the state government. He also assured that the commencement of distribution of palliatives to residents of the state will begin Monday, September the 4th.
I've assured the Akwa Ibom people that we'll start distributing palliatives from Monday. Because after the ESCO meeting and we come out with the, look at the recommendations and take a position from what government wants to do to support what the federal government sent in, the quick fix, there are very quick fix in the palliative that I believe we can do right now. We're working on it. I met with all the rice millers. We are taking rice from them. We have about 3,000 bags from the one they sent in. We have 2 billion naira that they sent in. The state government is adding 1 billion naira to make it 3 billion. We are committing it immediately to buy rice. I want to use our rice millers in Akwa Ibom because they are all over the place. I've met with them. We've sent orders out. And we're moving this on Monday to the local government.
And joining us right now is Ini Enemobong, Commissioner for Akwa Ibom State. For information, I believe. He joins us now for more. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We've heard from your governor, the governor of Akwa Ibom State, talk about, some of these palliative measures. Striking, he did mention 1 billion naira from the state, and this is to augment that of the federal government. For those who are curious, indeed, and this is considering what states are also going through with the debt burden, where did the 1 billion naira come from?
Well, you see, when a governor is inaugurated and when a budgeting process is done, there are reserve votes to handle emergencies, to handle things that may not have been anticipated at the beginning or the preparation of such budgets. And again, this is when the situation we face now is almost something that is of national security status. And therefore, when hunger sets in, the way it has set in, people who were previously comfortable are now poor. You must find a way to do things. In fact, it's not just 1 billion. We had a meeting yesterday, the recommendations of the palliative committee that were accepted by ESCO. The total amount to which will be deployed to that will be in excess of that. I'm sure you would note that the governor had said that was his first tranche of support. Yesterday, we agreed. We've received 7,200 bags of rice from the federal government, but the state government is going to distribute 100,000 bags of rice. Now, this will be distributed to the 2,272 gazetted villages that we have, and we are sending 40 bags of rice to every village. And other strategic groups like non-indigens, people living with disabilities, and the rest. So 100,000 bags. If you minus 7,200, you see the value to which that is going. Assuming that the bags of rice land in Uyo at between 45,000, if you do the mathematics, you're going to see. Away from that, we're also going to pay bursary 10,000 naira to every student every undergraduate of Akwa Ibom State origin in every public tertiary institution. And he's directed the Commissioner for Education, working with the State Scholarships Board, to begin the process of onboarding those students, verifying them so that they can also have that. We've also decided to run ticket-free days on Fridays, for markets, people who are selling in markets, in all the markets in the state, and transporters, all in a bid to see how to ameliorate the current situation that our people are going through. This morning, we had a meeting.
These are laudable objectives. Sorry to cut in. And perhaps I could also get your thoughts, because we've heard the NLC say that they're starting a 2-day warning strike. And they're saying the federal government isn't properly addressing the challenges caused by the removal of fuel subsidy. I'd like to get your thoughts on this.
Well, absolutely. You know, it's a negotiation between the federal government and the NLC, and parties to negotiations are expected to keep their sides of the negotiation. And clearly, the NLC is saying that the items on the negotiation, as agreed, have not been met. And I'm sure that the federal government will react in like manner, and it will call for a renegotiation. You see, during negotiations, you negotiate, renegotiate, even on items. There's a negotiation of the whole. There are negotiations in part.
But I'm talking about this in light with what your state is doing to alleviate and to cushion the impact of the removal of fuel subsidy, and what the federal government has given to you or promised you to also alleviate. Will all those meet to lift the burden from the people?
Yeah, that is why we are going further than what is anticipated. That's why we are going into issues of bursary, we are going into issues of pensions and gratuity, because as we speak currently, this is a multi-dimensional poverty instigator, because when you look at the removal of subsidy on PMS, it affects even the vulcanizer. So it affects people across the social strata. What we're also doing is, in our state, we're paying 2 billion naira to cater for what they call money award to civil servants and pensioners for 3 months. What His Excellency said we should do is to do what is sustainable. What does not just handle the immediate. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. What doesn't just handle the immediate, but what does take the most sustainable approach. Now, I'm sure that, and away from this, there are still things, for example, the unemployed category, which are not yet onboarded. This is the first tranche of what we have agreed in ESCO to make sure that we're trying to see how best we can capture almost every strata of society. We've captured the organized labor with the money award. We've captured the students. We've captured, in fact, in education. In healthcare, he had also directed the Commissioner for Health to see how we can make drugs and healthcare available at the primary healthcare centers, and it must go down to
all of this you've listed tells me spending, more spending. What's the average size of the state's IGR? And this is as a buffer to, you know, allocation you get from federal government. I mean, everyone is thinking beyond oil.
Yeah, absolutely. The IGR of the state has improved in the last 5 to 6 years because of the initiatives of the immediate past government, which this government has insisted that it would improve on that. And what this particular government is doing, in the last IBOM summit that we did, the IGR, the Internal Revenue Service, had come up with ideas on how to expand that IGR from what it was doing to what it's going to do. But at this point where we are facing a crisis where businesses are folding and things are happening, there's need for that intervention. Because when you intervene and make sure that the entrepreneurs are doing well, that is even part of the tax net that you draw from. But if businesses are folding up and people are unable to do what they should do, which is why you see the ticket-free days that we're giving to the people who are in transport sector and to the people who are in the market, because these are people who also pay taxes. Now, this is a period of intervention. Yes, we understand it's going to take a small toll and dent on our IGR, but when these people are reflated, we can still recover from them. So, which is why at yesterday's meeting, the IGR boss was there and he made his presentation that, look, this is where we are currently at IGR, and this is where we hope to be. But a little lull is what we are trying to see we can ameliorate.
Perhaps just in a few seconds, apart from the flag off of, you know, a few roads, what would you say are perhaps the immediate life-changing things that the governor will be doing that, you know, his tenure will be known for, and that's to change the fortunes of citizens in the state?
First, he's decided that the equitable distribution of projects is one thing he will be known for, and that he won't concentrate development in urban centers. He's brought the Arise agenda, which stands for agricultural revolution, rural development, infrastructure, security, and education. And now he's saying that we must have equitable distribution of projects between the local government areas, meaning that at least every local government must have a project per local government. Now, in terms of education, he's brought a model of what every school should look like. And as we speak, we passed the supplementary budget and the ESCO yesterday. He will be sending it to the House of Assembly to enable him bring those schools. The same standards of schools you have in the capital city must be the same standard of schools you have in the rural areas. The same primary healthcare facility you have in the urban centers must be the same that you have there. So he would be noted as someone who took development not just to the urban centers of Akwa Ibom, but who brought equitable distribution of development into the hinterland. So he's going to with the infrastructure renaissance. He's doing roads already. We are known to have one of the best road networks in the country without being immodest, but he's going to expand that. How about agriculture? How about making sure that we now construct roads that will help farmers bring their produce to where they can sell? How about education? Making sure that the standard of education in Uyo is also the standard of education in my village. How about making sure that primary healthcare centers work so that you can now move from there to the secondary, to the tertiary, and to the quaternary hospital?
So I see that it's really a long list, but time will tell, and we will be watching. I think you also forgot to mention the sustenance of the happy hour. Which is one of his campaign.
The tickets-free day is on Friday, so that could be an happy hour for everyone there. And I hope sometime you find time to visit. And today is Friday, so happy hour.
Thank you. Fingers crossed. Many thanks, Mr. Eni Ememobon, Commissioner for Information in Akwa Ibom State. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
We're off to Cross River State, where the governor, Basio, has assured the youth that the All Progressives Congress APC he's assuring them of President Bola Tinubu's intervention on things that concern them. The governor was speaking while addressing protesters in Calabar, the Cross River State capital, where he insists that they will not allow anyone to preside or sit on what belongs to the party. As they say, Cross River is the only state in the South-South that is under the All Progressives Congress.
We are the only APC state in the South-South. And if there's anybody who should superintend over the list, not just in Cross River, but in the South-South geopolitical zone, I believe that I have the mandate.
Absolutely.
Cross River State has never been a conquered territory. We are not fighting anybody, but we want our rights. I'm here to assure you that Mr. President is going to look into it. Mr. President loves Cross River State. I want to give you every assurance that Mr. President is an astute politician, is an accomplished technocrat. He's going to address the matter. He hates injustice, and he knows that we here don't stand for one.
Well, for other youths at the Delta Ijaw chapter of the All Progressives Congress, they're appealing to the president to consider them for appointments into federal government agencies. The chapter made the appeal during a press briefing in Warri, Delta State, where they congratulated the president on the successful inauguration of the National Assembly, the appointment of ministers and members of the Federal Executive Council, including one of their own, Mr. Festus Keyamo, as Minister of Aviation, Aerospace Development, and also Senator Heineken Lukubiri as Minister of State for Petroleum Oil.
On this premise that a collective and extensive consultation with the joint leaders and stakeholders have come together to draw your attention to our situation. Your Excellency, we want to inform you that the just concluded February 25, 2023 general elections, presidential election, we, the judges in APC in Delta State, fully supported your campaigns and mobilized votes for you and the party. Nevertheless, as officials, leaders, and members of the party, we took the renewed hope agenda to every nook and cranny in the joy land of Delta State. We, however, succeeded in convincing our people, which eventually joined the train and voted for you massively, that led to your victory. Mr. President, as party members, we do not want to bother ourselves with past, but worried with present happenings as to the appointment and the purported composition of the Bayelsa State Campaign Council, where no Ijaw person from Delta State made the list. Finally, being a listening president, you are aware, we believe, that you will put our frustration and marginalization into consideration by appointing Ijaw APC members in the next federal appointments from Delta State.
Elsewhere, the People's Democratic Party, they've been reacting to the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike's comments on whether or not the party can suspend him. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory had challenged his party, daring them to take action against him through suspension or disciplinary measures in an earlier interview with Channels Television. While the spokesperson of the PDP presidential campaign, Mr. Daniel Bwala, warns that if the minister continues with what he calls anti-party engagements, the PDP will not hesitate to expel him. He was speaking on our political program.
He's a stakeholder of the party. If you look at the constitution of the party, even when it talks about the body that is empowered by law to conduct primaries, even in the states, it is the National Working Committee. All these places he said he wrote the letter to are people he controls. I mean, did you expect the chairman of his state, who didn't even work for us in the campaign, to say no to him or the governor or any other person? Let him tell the world he wrote to the national body and let him show the letter that the national body asked him to go ahead. Secondly, you see, there is nothing wrong in a member of PDP working with Tinubu's government as long as that decision is reached by the party. You know, the party can say, let us sit and constitute a government of national unity and work. The party hasn't done that and is not the national chairman, neither is he the chairman board of trustees. I think everybody knows that he practically manipulated a lot of people, and then he had them walk in his path until he achieved what he has achieved, and they are now in the valley of decision and in the wilderness. Even in APC and in the PDP, there's a provision in the party's constitution that says where you have taken steps that are completely antithetical to the party's constitution, you stand expelled. Sees what he's doing, and then the party is quiet about it. It is not weakness. The party knows what it is doing. At the appropriate time, he will not only be suspended, he will be expelled. Take that one to the bag.
And the 2023 local government election in Edo State will be taking place tomorrow, Saturday, September the 2nd, in all 192 wards in the state. The state government has announced that there will be no restriction of movement across Edo. Speaking after a Security Council meeting at the Government House, the Governor, Godwin Obaseki, also assured residents that all necessary arrangements have been put in place to ensure a safe environment for the electorate during the poll.
You just want me to be talking. As you're aware, the local government elections will hold on Saturday. But what's unique about the elections this Saturday is that movement is not restricted. People will be allowed to go about their normal activities while, after voting. So movements within the state and for commuters going through the state will not be restricted, which means that the security must be high. So that's why we met with the security agencies to look at their state of readiness for that election. From the level of mobilization we've seen across all the parties, I believe that there's quite a bit of sensitization and people will come out to vote. But my advice is that as people come out to vote, they should do so peacefully.
And you've been served lunch this happy Friday. Thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Bye for now.